What's up, man? I met you before.
I know you. I know
Yes,
you.
I definitely met you down here, maybe. I'm not sure.
Maybe you could start by telling us who you are, a little bit about yourself.
My name's Paul Bazile. I'm a filmmaker and journalist. I'm a writer-producer for Milo Yiannopoulos, and Milo's bath partner, his best friend, and family.
Well, we're happy to have you. We're called the Philadelphia Visionary Arts Gallery. We usually focus on really surrealistic, trippy, quote-unquote visionary art. We wanted to do a show that highlighted the controversial nature of everything going on now, and this is it.
I want to give you my feelings on the state of art as we know it and what people, I think, have forgotten about art. Art upsets people. It's supposed to upset people. It's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to challenge you. Art takes risks, and we are out of that now. Nobody takes risks. Gluing a dildo to a piece of paper and calling it art is not a risk. You're not upsetting anyone. You're playing to your own crowd so they can stand around and applaud for you like the baby made a poopy. As an artist, you're supposed to challenge yourself. You're supposed to challenge an audience to think about a new concept or a way of thinking. And you're supposed to take a risk to see, are people even going to get what I'm going to do? And nobody does that. Everybody stays in their lane and stays super safe. And I understand, this day and age, to make it as an artist, you have to have social media. And it's hard because if you're, let's say, a pro-Trump artist, you'll be kicked off of social media, 100%. If you do anything upsetting or scary, which used to be called free speech, 100% of the time, you'll be reported because you don't think like they think, and then they'll pat each other on the back at some award ceremony or some art gallery where, like, some naked fat chick twirls in a circle and they call it, like, performance art.
Then the alternative aspects of art have sort of been relegated to the mainstream realm, where people think they're really edgy and they're really just playing to the populace. With this show, we've got some flack for it. We had an employee of ours who didn't want to be involved just because of some of the people we had involved. My idea has been that art is the lens from which we view controversy. This is the place where you're supposed to push people's buttons. It's not a place to play it safe.
I remember back in the early 90s in New York, there was an art exhibit called Piss Christ, where they took a crucifix and put it in a jar of urine and it upset a lot of people. I'm all for that. Whether or not you agree with the sentimentality of it, it's something that made people react and made people think. Now everybody is doing Piss Christ. It's not controversial anymore. You're like, I'm against Christianity, but to be against something like, say, Islam, and to actually speak out and say there's a lot of bad ideas there is something we need to get artists to do. And to say, hey, listen, if you're against religion, okay, cool, but don't just call out one religion. Call out the dangerous religions. And that's something that we will win. You could really win over a lot of people by changing their minds with art and making them think. And Hollywood knows that. That's why they make such crappy, horrible movies that make you just turn your brain into mush and sell you useless pieces of plastic all the time. Because they know, okay, well, if we take that risk, it could not end up in a reward for us. So it's really a shame, and I think it's awesome what you guys are doing over there, where you're bringing it back and saying, no, we're going to have real avant-garde people and people who are actually going to make you think and shock you.
Eli naturally is having a dope party, but he's giving me this dope-ass toothpick.
I just noticed Heavy Metal Jesus in the background there. There he is. Nice shirt, man. That's nice and shiny. Milo, when he writes books with titles like How to Be Poor, most people will instantly get angry at that, and they don't even know why, which I think is interesting, and it's what makes him, if you know him, he's basically a performance artist, 24/7. He doesn't have an off switch, which is much to my detriment and frustration working for him. But I think that you need more people like that who think outside the box. Even if somebody challenges me on something I disagree with, I like thinking about what they say so I could kind of redefine, well, why do I feel that way? And then maybe I could argue with them or argue the point in my own head and feel one way or the other, which is something that I think is important. And art has lost that for a good 2 decades now. Everything is just soft and fruity, and the most crazy thing people could do is like put a 50-year-old woman at the halftime at the Super Bowl to dance like a stripper, and they go, that's controversial, and it's definitely not for me. I don't know who it's for. I don't know who went that's the thing that changed my life and made me want to be a singer or a dancer.
The true controversial art that everybody wants to pretend like they're all down with is the shit that pisses everybody off. Like, no, that's controversial in the wrong way. You have to be controversial within this specific box. I'm all down with the edgy, extreme parts of expression, as long as they're within my specific realm. Right now, everyone's being told that's completely acceptable, that like everything outside of a polite realm is just evil to the point where even listening to it is dangerous, or hearing it or seeing it, and people are just reflecting their own bullshit right back at the world around them. There are people who understand that social media and all the bullshit they're seeing and hearing on the news and stuff, that's not reality. Reality is all the people you see.
Eli may not always been cool, but he's always been a smart dude.
By the way, Milo's portrait ought to be fatter. Can you imagine that you are so good at what you do that the audio of your name entering their ear canals makes them just go and freak out? I want to be that guy so bad. My whole life I wanted to be that guy. But here's the thing. Everything has become political now. And anyone who knows me knows this. I don't give a flying fuck whether you are a conservative or whether you are a liberal. I truly don't. I truly don't. Here's my thing. I don't like being told what to do. My problem is with authority. I don't like that. And now we live in a world where literally everybody is the fucking safety patrol of your goddamn middle school, and they want to tell you what to do and what to wear. You know, guys like you wearing a Hot Topic coat or the girl with the shaved head in the back should definitely be concerned about that, because if they are going to tell a guy like me or a guy like Milo or a guy like Gavin McInnes or a guy like Roger Stone, who's going to prison now, what to do because they don't believe the right things, they're coming for you. The people next to you right now are the people who are going to be lined up against a wall and shot, metaphorically, possibly, and if it's a socialist country, possibly literally, which is shocking to me how willing people are to just let other people tell them what to do. I can't tell you how many times in the past 3 years of my life, people now say, you can't say that. You can't say that. It's more than ever, and it's not coming anymore from like uptight Christian conservatives. It's now coming from people who are supposed to be the open-minded ones.
And it's funny because growing up as a kid, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words never hurt me. And if people were saying something to you that you couldn't handle it, you reacted, you were the idiot in the room. You were the person who was a loser. Nowadays, it's like the biggest victim is the one on the pedestal. I was the smallest kid in school. I used my words to fight back with. And nowadays, it's like words are horrible, but if you don't like what someone says, punching them in the face is legitimate. I've always thought that words should always be put ahead of violence, and people's thoughts should be changed through education and discourse and not through violence. You can't force people to be smarter, more intelligent, or to think a certain way. You can convince them through logic and good communication, but you can't mandate thought. It never really works out.
Especially if you can't punch. If you're a vegan, your bones are like graham crackers. They're just going to snap when they hit my meaty face. So don't even try it. If you want to try it, go right ahead. I will sit there and giggle my ass off when it happens. And it's definitely happened before. People are so willing to just give everything up, and violence is the last refuge of people who have run out of arguments because they don't even know why they believe what they believe. Here's the thing, people want to be passionate about something. They want to stand for something, and when you don't read, and I'm not saying that in a elitist Bernie Sanders Ocasio-Cortez way of like, why don't people read? It's like, no, read. If you're curious about a subject or if you don't know about something, rather than just arguing about it, read at least one book on the subject, just so you could go, oh, okay, I kind of get an idea where I stand. These people don't do that.
It's like, oh, you know what? There's an authority beyond me that knows more than I do. Instead of me trying to make up my own mind, I'm going to relegate my opinion to a cloud, to just the experts that exist all around, and then just parrot what they say instead of coming to your own conclusions.
And the shocking thing is how impassioned people are getting now. And this is on the left and the right. Nobody's innocent of this. People are getting impassioned about things they know nothing really about. Things like socialism. Things like Cuba, where it's like, have you ever talked to a Cuban? Do you know what you're talking about? But they will sit there and argue for days about why you're wrong. If you want to know how Cuba is, talk to a Cuban. Cuban Americans are some of the greatest, most loyal Americans I've ever met because they know what it's like to have the opposite, which is shocking to me that nobody even stopped to consider, is there anything else going on that isn't just like some propaganda on my Instagram feed? Is there something real happening that I need to know about? Should I maybe, I don't know, read a book about this, even if I feel like I disagree with the author? If you want to talk about economics, why don't you read a book about economics? I'm a stupid douche from New Jersey, and I've read books on economics. It's not hard. You could read something every now and again. You could learn with YouTube now. You could watch a documentary on anything from whether or not the earth is flat to what was the skull shape of the first man. So do that every now and again when you're bored, and sit down and go, I didn't look at it that way. And every now and then switch on something that you had no idea about, just to be like, you know what? I'm watching a documentary on walruses to see how they live. And you might learn something rather than just sitting there feeling like you have this indignant opinion to the point where you're fighting people in the streets, which, again, the reason you're being violent is because you know that you're not going to change minds with your arguments, so you want to just go and punch people in the face. Like the meme says, I was punk rock when it was called Hey Faggot.